Today, I want to talk about how your skills affect your earning power. Although I think this is going to be a really fun talk because it's going to be much more than that. It's I want you to think on a grand scale, not just about skills and the skills you have and how they can affect your earning power, but how they affect the career choices you make or how the career choices you make affect the skills you build. That's for second thing, the skills themselves, and then the companies that you work for, how that affects your ability to build skills and earn. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of the talks that I give you are ABC, 1, 2, 3, do this first, do this second, do this third. This talk is not going to be like that. This is a much more, I want to say eye-opening, or I want to give you a perspective so that you understand how all of these influences contribute to your ability to make money. What are those skills that make you tens of thousands? What are those skills that make you hundreds of thousands? What are those skills that make you millions? What is the inertia that goes along with preventing you from being able to do that? Now, I know money is not everything, but can we agree that more is better than less? I would rather you have more and figure out what to do with it than not have enough and, foreclose on the house and can't pay the mortgage or whatever it is, can't put food on the table or send those kids to the Ivy League schools that you want to. So I don't want to have to say this every single time I make a point today. Money is not everything, and you do need to define what success is for you. But you can take the emotional part and you could do the emotional reward. Today, I want to talk to you about the financial impacts. Cool? Great. Good stuff. All right, now, I was trying to think because I know a lot of you follow me for job searching, and I do know a lot of you follow me for leadership coaching, and I've never discussed this type of topic with this group. Yes, we've talked about salary negotiation, how to get you paid more, and all the fancy ways you can get paid. But today, I want to talk about this in a little different fashion, and I was trying to think, short of opening up my bank account or showing you the Mile Walk and Mile Walk Academy books so that you know that I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to try to give you a couple of points here just to give you a frame of reference about why I think I'm equipped to talk with you about this. And the first thing is I was an employee just like you, and I got the salaries and the bonuses just like you. So I earned in a fashion similar to the way that you earn. But the one thing that I do want to tell you about when I was an employee, which was about half of my career, half of my 36-year career, that I believe I was paid in just about every imaginable financial format that employers give you. I had the salary, I had the bonuses, I was paid in management by objective bonuses, I was paid in commissions, I was paid in dividends, I had restricted stock units, incentive stock options, non-qualified options, profit interest units, phantom stock. I had all that stuff, L-tips, LS-tips. I had all kinds of compensation structures, and I looked at the relationship between how I was paid, what I did, the skills I had. Then I thought about, and I want you to appreciate me as a business owner. I've run a services business. I've run a products and services business that you are familiar with, Mile Walk and the Mile Walk Academy. But I have real estate investment companies. I have other businesses that I've built, not to mention as an investor, I've an angel invested in products companies, products and services companies, services only companies. I've had every imaginable exotic way to make money. I have tried them all. I truly have. And not only that, as a business owner, but even as an employee, I had to build systems that were efficient, workflows that created ways to make money, save money. And I looked at the skills that it took me to do that. The other part about motivating people and managing people and skills related to that and how that helped me earn money, or not just as a corporate practitioner and an employee, but also as a coach who works and gains his outputs through you and the value through you that I coach. And so I looked back at all of that, and I was trying to think about, is there a relationship between the skills themselves? And so what are the skills and how do you learn them is one question. And if you want to learn a single skill, a skill, it's super easy to do that. If you want to be a better seller, that's easy to find people who can teach you that. There's books out there, there's blogs out there, there's people out there, there's TED Talks out there, there's training programs you can go to. You want to be a better project manager? Easy peasy. You want to be more organized? No problem. And that's simple stuff, and it's accessible to you. And if you put the time in, you're going to become better at a skill. But that wasn't good enough for me. I don't want to teach you a skill. I challenged myself because I want to teach you all the skills that I think that you need to build in order to live a maximum career. That's most enjoyment, reaching highest potential, maxing out everything that you have. And I have been doing that since March of 2019 in different modalities. In my leadership coaching program, some of you are familiar. I meet every month with members of that program to teach them my latest strategies and skills and tactics on the skills I believe you need to build to become great at your career, whatever your function is. And not only that, I've given it to you in blogs, I've given it to you in videos, and I've given it to you in books. And so I really challenged myself to develop a methodology that helps you in the best possible way, because long-term skill development, it's freaking hard. It's hard. Why? Because you have attention span issues, right? We have life interruption issues. It's confusing, to say the least. Not only that, you have lack of know-how issues. It doesn't mean you're not smart. It just means you haven't learned it yet. You don't know. I have to learn the skill. How do I learn the skill? What do I need to do to actually learn the skill, practice it, and be better at it? But add all that nonsense up and all of those problems, and in total, they don't compare to the absolute worst issue, which is knowing which skills are going to give you the greatest ROI. Meaning, what skills should I learn first where the dividends are going to compound? What skills, as it relates to financial reward, are the ones I should be building? And how do I know all that? Because I made all the same mistakes that everybody makes. It's just I've been spending a lot of time obsessing over this for decades, and so I packaged it all up. A lot of you I know are members of my leadership program. A really inexpensive way to grab these concepts is in the Zebra Code book, a step-by-step guide to mastering career skills that make you a standout professional. If you like what we're talking about today, this is a really budget-friendly way of getting exposure and more detail to what I'm going to be sharing with you today. It's also the cheapest way to join me tomorrow in my leadership coaching program. I'll tell you more about that. So, who wants to be rich? Give me an I want to be rich in the chat, because a ka-ching or one of those funny emojis, with the tongue sticking out with the dollar sign. Let's have it. Have at it in the chat. I'm going to run through a number of slides where I break this down so that you understand career choices, company choices, skill choices, function choices. How does this affect my ability to earn? Because if you think you're working hard and you don't think you're getting paid enough, the answer is in what I'm about to tell you in the next, 20 or 30 minutes or so. Cool? Awesome. Darcy's got it going on. Dana's got it going on. Magdalena's got it going on. Look at that. That's right. I want you to be rich. All right. So first thing you need to understand is that, and I mentioned March 2019, and over these last nearly 6 years, I have been working with my leaders and members of that leadership coaching program to actually teach them this methodology, help them understand the kind of skills they need to build, put their career development plans together. That's something we're actually going to be doing tomorrow. But in order for this group to understand the relationship between function and dollars, you need to understand the way I see the world as it relates to you being able to progress through your career. So let me give you that very quickly here. So you should be seeing me in the corner and a leadership skill building roadmap. This is my proprietary methodology for how somebody evolves as a white collar professional. It doesn't matter what your function is. Okay, number one, there's producer level skills and activities. And I'm going to be very specific about what these are. But when you start your career, however, as you go through your entire career, so in the beginning and for every day throughout the rest of your life, you need to maintain producer level skills. And what do I mean? What do I mean when I say producer? I mean that you can operate independently. being proficient at cranking out the widget. And we'll get more specific here in a second. But can you all understand that, right? When I get out of school, when I get into becoming an engineer or an accountant or a developer or a coder or a marketer or a seller, right? We want to be able to be proficient at doing what we do. Now, there are skills that are associated with this. They're the hardest skills to build, and they take the longest nurturing, and they atrophy the fastest if we don't keep at it. So I'm going to talk about what those are. Then you become a communicator. Now, that's not to say you don't become a communicator the day you walk out of college with your shiny new degree. But as you evolve and you become more proficient, you start to learn communication skills as it relates. I want to be very specific here, as it relates to building relationships with others. Okay, building relationships, being a team player, helping people achieve desired outcomes, their outcomes. And then as you evolve, it takes even more communication skills to actually influence people. You could be influencing your team. You can be influencing your customers. You can be influencing a body of people. I influence my community. I influence my customers through these sessions like this and premium sessions as well. But actually, there's communicating, understanding how to communicate, two-way communication. There's written communication. There's verbal communication, there's nonverbal communication, there's email communication, there's all kinds of stuff, social media communication. But when it comes to inspiring others, that requires even more skills because you have to learn human psychology and behavior and patterns and understand the buttons you need to push. I mean that in a good way, not a bad way, but you get the idea. Those are even greater skills that take longer to learn because you need more practice and more scenarios at understanding, because humans are so complex when it comes to communication that there are so many things you need to know about how to do that effectively. Then as you evolve, you get into the development of people and the development of systems, the motivation, the being able to get the group working as a team, the ability to get the individual to reach their maximum potential or the systems to reach their maximum potential. And then you top out in the ideation portion where you can create needle moving ideas that set the tone, that set the market, that set the new product line, that create and make breakthroughs, whether that's internally in your organizations, externally with your communities or partners, or globally with your customers. And so I see everybody evolve into across this kind of pyramid or rising up this spectrum. Now, I want you to understand, and I want to be really clear here. A person who's 22 years old, who's an emerging professional and just getting started, needs to build skills in the top tier. Okay, this is not, I have to wait 30 years and be Andy's age to do this. No, you still need to generate ideas, and there are skill sets and formulas to do that. And if you practice them, you can start building those skills early. But when you want to gain return on your investment in alignment with where you are in your career, I see you evolving this way. It's not linear because you're going to build skills in all of these levels throughout your entire life. So what does this mean? Like let's get a little bit more prescriptive here. So the way that I break down the skill sets, just so you know what I mean when I say a producer, is these are the skills that I've identified that you need to build in order to be the best producer possible. So things like your ability to focus, build good habits, have willpower, energy, confidence, know how to plan, run your day, know how to have a good decision-making structure, be self-aware. You get the idea. Now, you're wondering probably, why are some of those in red and why are some of them in black? Well, in the Zebra Code, in the book that I just flashed here, that I know a lot of you have purchased, there we go. The red ones, actually willpower should be red as well, but all of the ones that are in red actually have lessons inside the Zebra Code book. So I literally have a chapter, or there's a conflation of skills that create a chapter, like planning and productivity, as an example, inside the Zebra Code. So that's just for your reference if you're interested in understanding what's inside the book. When you become a communicator and again, this is something that you can start very early in your career, because anybody who's empathetic, anybody who listens effectively, anybody who speaks effectively or knows how to tell stories or build trust or build relationships, that's a good thing. But this takes practice. So it doesn't occur as immediately. And what else is different about, in this case, column 1 and column 2? If you notice on the left, the producer level skills, what do you notice is common about them? They require no one else. Does that make sense? They require no one else to help you build those. But what about column 2? While technically speaking, if we really want to get specific, building trust is something I do with myself, but really I'm talking about building trust in others. Well, I can be empathetic with myself, but I'm really talking about being empathetic with someone else. Listening. Well, I should be listening to myself, but I'm really talking about listening to somebody else. And speaking, I'm talking about speaking to somebody else. You get the idea. So the communicator level here is going to require much more time and much more interaction with others. It's going to take others in order for you to build and practice that skill. Same thing with influencer. Now, in order to influence somebody, in order for me to influence you, meaning in a positive way, to teach you and build trust, I need to know what I'm doing. And if you don't know what you're doing when it comes to your trade, no one's going to pay attention to you. And so there's subject matter expertise skills that need to be built. So just for me to be knowledgeable on what I'm doing doesn't mean I'm going to have the skills to influence you in a positive way, to sell to you in a positive way. But those are other skills. And so in here, we're talking about being persuasive, understanding how to present, understanding how to facilitate, collaborate, negotiate, network, understanding how to elicit what you want and getting it from anybody at any time. I have lessons inside the leadership library on all of these in the leadership coaching program. But in the Zebra Code, again, the red skills are in the book. And then developer, we're talking about managing people, motivating people, and so on and so forth, promoting culture, managing change, development of the systems, hiring, building teams. And then when we get into the visionary level, we're talking about the idea generation and being creative. And I'm not talking about artsy creative, like pretty pictures and pretty abstract paintings and pretty graphics. I'm talking about creative when it comes to ideas. There's a formulaic way for you to generate ideas. I teach that as well. So this gives you an idea of what I mean. And by the way, all of these are available in my leadership coaching program. I teach on how to create an innovative environment. I teach on all of these things. All of these things, I have detailed lessons in the program. But now what I want to talk to you about is how companies work. So now that you have an idea of what I mean by each of the different tiers, and all of you are probably drawing a relationship between what you do and the type of tiers that I was just talking about, seeing the applicability of those skills. But I want to talk to you about how all companies operate. It makes no difference what company you work for, what the company creates, what the company does, the service the company provides. It makes no difference whether it creates a widget, toothpaste, provides a service like consulting, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever. It makes no difference. Every single company has these 3 layers. First layer, the what's. This is, what is it that we build? What is it that we provide? What's the service we provide? And when you're at the producer level and you are operating within the what's, your earning capacity is limited by what? Time. It's limited by time. The mechanic who services my car and fixes the engine can only fix so many engines in a 40-hour work week. That person is trading their brain and their muscles for time, for money, in time for money. When I do a one-to-one coaching session with you, that is a widget or a service that I provide. My earning capacity as Coach Andy doing a one-to-one coaching session is limited by time when I'm coaching somebody individually, because I can only coach one person at a time and there's only so many hours in the day. You follow me? I know this sounds basic, but when you wonder why you can't earn more money, it all starts here. And I'm going to show you the entire picture, but it all starts with you are limited by time. That will never change, ever. The next layer in an organization is the how. This layer is usually reserved for the managers and the teachers and the designers of the process, where you are creating results through building of something that is dependent on people. Okay? The scale and the limiter here is you are limited by the number of people or the personnel or the number of customers. So technically speaking, I could do a group coaching session, but I'm still limited. There's still a limiter. You could manage a 5-person team or a 50-person team, but you're still going to be, your outputs are going to be limited by time and people. And yes, I can build a system that people do, like I built a job search coaching program, and people can go and use that, and that the teacher is teaching them the how, and my results and my output are still a function of anybody who takes that program. So there's limiters in this, in the middle layer, still by scalability. But where you make real money, and you can't make real money unless you do the top tier, and that's systematizing. So this is systems that generate the results without humans. So I want you to imagine I can build something that is completely independent of me or people or Kara or anybody else in the Mile Walk Academy, because we could drive results through automation that make us money while we sleep. So as an example, at the bottom tier, the what, that's imagine Coach Andy doing a one-to-one coaching session, because that's a service that I provide. Or that's Coach Andy sitting in his office creating a video that's going to go inside one of his programs. That's still a widget. And my earning capacity is really limited if I do that. If I go and I'm Coach Andy and I start teaching groups, I can make more money, but I'm still limited by the number of people in the group or the number of people on my team. You go into the top tier. So what Coach Andy does is Coach Andy builds products that he can sell all the time. And many of you were at a job search challenge workshop that I had a couple weeks ago. I was present and you were seeing me do it and deliver it live. My capacity to earn in that section of the year was limited by time and the number of people that were there, because I was delivering it to you in real time. And there was no system that was actually manufacturing the revenue for me. I was doing that. You follow me? But some of you are familiar with the fact that I have webinars that run 24/7. Okay, the webinar itself that runs all the time is a system, but the system that makes the money is not the webinar. The system that makes the money is the workflow that automates your ability to find the webinar, watch the webinar, and then for us to facilitate dialogue with you after you've watched the webinar to enroll in a program. And all of that occurs while I sleep. Every morning I wake up, I kid you not, I check my bank account and it better be bigger than it was when I went to sleep. That's a system that creates a workflow that does everything in automation that generates the revenue. I only created the webinar once, and that webinar makes money every single day, and I don't do a thing. That's a system that drives automated revenue. My ability to earn is unlimited. Does this make sense? Give me a hey in the chat. You following along? You can't make real money until you get yourself out of the equation. Industry pays big bucks for the top tier. Give me a hey in the chat. Tell me you're tracking so far. Then let's get down to the details. All right. I see the pink wavy hands. All right. Now, well, how does all this relate to you? That's all great that Coach Andy's rich, but how do I get rich too? Because you know nothing thrills me more than when I can do my part to make you rich. Okay. All right. Next thing. Let's go into the leadership or zebra tiers. So if I say my leadership methodology or my zebra methodology, I'm talking about the pyramid that I just showed you. Okay. First things first. Okay, at the producer tier, operating independently, building skills like focus, planning, productivity, and what I just showed you on the previous slide. These are, generally speaking, individual contributors that self-manage, that create the widget, that account for the books, that build the semiconductors, low-level sales associates, administrators, accountants. You get the idea. Now, I'm not going to say this every time. Yes, there are individual contributors that earn more than $75,000 a year. Okay? I'm trying to give you, for illustrative purposes, based on my 36 years of experience as a corporate practitioner, an executive recruiter, and a career coach who's seen lots of salaries and associated the skills that people have with how much they earn. So that's the foundational tier. Then when you get, this is also the what's, when you get into the communicator tier, you're creating outputs of value and you're doing it with communications. And I will never forget when I was 21 years old and I had an internship at Centel, which I think is now part of Sprint. And I was an electrical engineer, communications submajor, and Bruce Becker, the boss of the group I was in, said to the entire group, industry pays big bucks to people who can manage people. And even though we now, not to talk out of the other side of my mouth, have AI systems that create systems and workflow systems and email marketing systems and all the other things that dear old Coach Andy has learned since he was 21 years old, Bruce Becker was right. If you know how to handle people and you can do that in a positive manner, there is absolutely, you're dialing it up for success. You really are. You really are. So I want you to be thinking about the skills that it takes not to influence the people, but just to get along with the people, to understand, to be a great team player. But maybe you're a good customer support person. So the customer support person who sits in the call center and answers the phone calls when we call in or reads the email at the help desk and is going to use their communication skills to help me resolve my problem, right? They need to be empathetic. Nobody calls the customer support line because they want to tell you what a great job you're doing. They call the customer support line because something's broken and they're hurting. Well, the customer service rep who's going to be better is going to be more empathetic, is going to be more knowledgeable. And so that person is using communication skills, but also subject matter expertise, things of that nature. But you can also be writing better marketing copy. You could be the human resources person who does a better job keeping employee morale up. But there's going to be limits on what you can do here because you're supporting the widget or the service. So let's say you're between 50K and 100K. Again, these are just general guidelines, but I'm more than anything, I want you to understand the meta-analysis behind this and the relationship between skills and money. Then when you get into the how layer, when you get into the how layer, you've got the influencer. Now, the influencer is the teacher, is the system builder, is the teacher teaches the other people how to do what they need to do, or optimizes it, or builds the system for them. So Coach Andy is an influencer in tier 3 here with the how, because the results that I'm creating for you as a coach, I can build the system for you and I can teach you how to do it. But if Coach Andy was not also the business owner required for setting up the infrastructure and the workflow and the automation in the top tier, Coach Andy would not be making as much money as Coach Andy does. Okay? Same kind of thing for you. It doesn't matter to me that you have a 50-person team. Your ability to earn is still going to be capped, and it also is a function of what it is you do with that 50-person team. But you're going to need persuasion skills. You're going to need presentation skills. You're going to need negotiation skills. You're going to need to understand how humans behave. And in these capacities, you're talking about motivation through education. And sales executives could sell, but if you are a seller, even though you could earn millions and you could be off this page, your earning capacity is still capped. You can't blow the lid off it. If you're the best salesperson in the world, you still can't make zillions of dollars unless you're automating it. Because why? Because you are limited by you. There's only one of you. You can only sell so many widgets if you're doing it in hand-to-hand combat. So, you're in the 75 to 500,000 range, maybe higher, depending on what you're selling. But the point is that you are going to be limited by time and source or by customers. There will be limiters to your earning capacity. Okay? And then let's take it up a rung, the developer. Now, this is the development of people or the development of operations. So project managers could fall into this tier where they're doing the running of the project and they're doing the teaching, or you're running a business unit or a practice, right? But you are going to be also capped by what? Number of bodies, number of widgets, number of customers that you can generate. You're still in the teaching phase or the running phase or the management phase or the operational phase. But this has not been automated. You with me? So far, so good? So let's say you're up to 750,000. And if you want to earn the millions, you got to be able to come up with the needle moving ideas. And not only that, you need to be able to automate the revenue. You need to, it doesn't matter how much money you save a company, even with brilliant ideas. If you can't automate the revenue, your earning capacity is handicapped. And that's, wait, hold on. Do not misunderstand anything I'm saying today. I want you all to enjoy whatever you do in whatever capacity is. And if you like solving cost-cutting problems, more power to you. But from an earning capacity, I'm going to pay more money to the person who builds me a system that gives me unlimited money than the person who saves me a finite amount of money, even if that finite amount of money is a big number. Okay, so this is really important. So you're talking about strategy here. You're talking about idea generation. You're talking about idea implementation, and you're talking about doing that in an automated fashion. This is the business owners, the CEOs, the top level executives. But by the way, you could be a 30-year-old out of school for 6 to 8 years and figure out a way to come up with an automated system that blows the lid off limits in your earning capacity. So anybody could do this. I'm just saying from a traditional evolution perspective, this to me is what's going to earn you millions. If you can't do this, it's harder to earn the millions. So this is the way I see the world. Now, I'm not saying any of that is absolute. My point today so far is not to tell you that you can't earn a lot of money doing something this way or that way. I got attorneys that bill me by the project or bill me by the hour. I'm guessing they're making a good buck, but their earning capacity is limited still because they can only charge me so much. I mean, they could raise their rates, right? I could make more money by charging you more for the coaching session. But my point is, I wanted to illustrate this for you in how companies work in relation to what it is you do, the skills you have, and what that means to you earning money. And this, I'm not gonna draw the conclusions all the way to the end, because somebody might say, well, Andy, why the heck did I ever decide I wanted to work for a consulting firm? Because now I'm limited by, the dollar per hour that my company charges for me, and I can only make so much money. That's right. That's true. And that's a good living for a lot of people, right? Or The seller who can sell more widgets, that's fine. But what happens? I mean, you only have so much time to do the selling. And so you have to build automated systems that are not reliant on people to make money. So somebody's asking me, are automatic systems always related to technological processes? Well, if you can think of any way to create something that does not require humans, okay? Because if a human is involved and needs to make it work, then it's not automatic. So let's be really clear, Lisa, because this is a great question. Okay, Coach Andy has to create the webinar. I created it. And that in and of itself is not a system. That's Coach Andy, subject matter expertise, Coach Andy, teaching. Okay, that's it. I spent time, an hour, we create the webinar. Now the webinar is going to be available to everybody. But if I just say, hey, there's a webinar out there on my page, that's not a system. The webinar sits there, collects dust, digital dust. Nobody watches it. Then I have to say, well, if Kara says, hey, Andy, I'll put a post out there and let them know there's a webinar. That's not a system. She has to manually do that. And it doesn't matter if we use a system to schedule it. If Kara has to spend any time, that's not a system. I mean, it's a system of sorts, but it's not a money-making system. But if I paid for advertisement or the social messages went out and you discovered that there was a webinar and you could watch the webinar on your own time. And then when the webinar was done, I sent you a message and said, Lisa, please buy this, which is basically what happens, right? And we have a conversation. I'm not anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm sleeping. That's an automated system. So that's what I'm talking about. No humans involved. No humans involved. You cannot become limitless in your earnings if it's relied on people. Why? We're limited by time. And so that's what I mean when I say an automatic system. A system that workflows something is not automatic. It makes an automatic step. Is it a money? The answer to your question is, if it makes money and you do nothing, that's an automatic system. Cool? Cool. All right, now I got a couple other things for you. So I have couple action items, and then I have a couple questions and a little challenge for you. All right, let's go back to this. All right, number one, I mentioned this earlier. If you grab my buy one, get one free of the zebra code, so you basically pay for one hardcover, you pay no shipping, and I will send you 2 books anywhere in the world. If you do that, and you are not a member of my leadership coaching program, you can come tomorrow where I'm going to be helping my leaders build their career development plan for 2025. So I'm going to teach you the career building plan part of the zebra code. Or you can grab an ebook or an audio book or a single hardcover if you want. There is a free leadership and skills assessment. Kara, can we give them the free booklet for the leadership and skill building roadmap? So I have a free booklet that you can grab where you can take an assessment to see how your skills stack up. And then also use that free booklet or the zebra code to actually outline your career plan and think about it. But I have some other things I want you to think about. So those are some to-dos. But I want you to just ponder these questions. Okay? When it comes to your career, anybody who's early in their career, I want you to really think about what I just said, meaning that grid. What kind of company do you want to join? Because a product company can make a lot more money than a services company. Why? I can sell more products than I can serve. If I'm a consultancy and I'm a service company, the only way for me to make more money is what? Hire more bodies. And in order to hire more bodies, I got to incur more expense. So I'm not going to be as profitable as a product company that can effectively manufacture in an automated fashion, unreliant on people. Follow me? Is that something you want to consider? Maybe, maybe not. Just think about your career. Think about what are the skills that I'm lacking that I need. I had a session Monday with a young lady. I don't know exactly how old she is, but if I had to take a gander, I'd say she's maybe 30, maybe. And we had a coaching session. The subject of her coaching session, the goal was to help her understand that she's in a company. She's been working there for a handful of years. She doesn't want to leave, and I wouldn't recommend that she does. It's a great, great company. She's got a great role, but she wants to understand what are her pathways? What are the skills she needed to build? What are other options if she chose to go into a slightly different career within the organization? She and I, that's what our primary discussion was on Monday. And I was able to show her these skills mean this. You're here if you want to go this path, these are the skills you need to build. You want to go this path, these are the skills you need to build. If you go to this path, here's the pluses, here's where you're limiting yourself. We went through all of that. So I want you to think about, it was awesome session. I love that. I want you to do this with yourself. You got to have some knowledge, obviously, of career paths and understanding of what the future will look like if you choose a different route and build particular skills. But I want you to think about what are those skills. And then I want you to think about, well, what are the companies that would enable me to build the skills I want, or companies that likely would be more financially stable because they're less reliant on. There's no problem with relying on humans for certain functions within companies. But there is absolutely no way I earn as much money as I do for the Mile Walk Academy if all I did was coach individuals. I just couldn't earn enough, meaning meaning there would be a limit on what I could earn, even if my 40-hour-a-week schedule was booked every hour with a person. No, but I balance what I do, and each part of my business feeds other part of my businesses, and I always weigh the cause and effect. Let me give you an example, because I don't want you to think blindly about this. All of you, and I'm using myself as an example because I feel like you understand what I do. So part of what I do is I have online products that people can buy at any time, and they can watch them on their own. I don't need to be there, and everything's recorded, and there's booklets I've created and things of that nature. Okay, well, that is limitless if I put a workflow together that sells those programs, and that's true. And you might say, well, okay, well, if that's limitless, why would you spend any time coaching individuals? Now, I balance the limited earning functions and capacities, because when I coach individuals, that keeps me sharp, my teaching sharp. It helps me learn the environments, the positions, what these functions are, what they mean in Germany or France or Korea or whatever. And it's giving me data that makes the quality of my product that I sell in an automated fashion better. So I'm willing to sacrifice finances in one service I provide to increase the quality of the product I create. You follow me? Really important. Then that's one example. Another example, and this is kind of a silly one. I thought about this the other day. My wife has like $4,000 hair. I don't even know what she pays. I'm just kidding. Maybe not. It's expensive hair. That's all I know. Right? All you ladies out there, right? You got that expensive hair, right? You go, they put the highlights and the coloring in, and they do the chopping and the cutting and the blow drying and the redoing and whatever, right? It's like expensive. Okay, I can't believe what she spends. So the other day, she said, I'm running an errand. I was like, where are you going? She says, well, I'm going to the place I told you about to get my roots done. She's going to dye her hair, okay? And this is really funny. And the reason I'm using this as an illustration is somebody was ingenious enough to come up with this business model. Women, I'm sure a lot of you can identify. I can't, because I just let the grays go. So my wife used to go to her stylist. Did she charge her thousands of dollars or whatever to touch up her roots? Or then she'd do it at home with the box. But there's this place that's all they do, roots. Except you don't pay to go and get your roots done. You pay a subscription. Now, the ladies that service the hair, Well, there's only so many of those ladies and they can only take so many appointments at one time. But to take the lid off their earnings, even though it's a services business, they create a subscription model. This is a blend, right? Because what happens is my wife just pays a monthly fee. And if she goes once, it basically pays the monthly fee. But if she doesn't go, then they pocket the money. Or she can go a couple times, it still pays the fee. So for them, they're earning more money by trying to minimize the limiting factor of time and people. So there's millions of ways to make money. My point is that's a blended model where there's no limit on how many people can have a subscription, and they know statistically that not everybody's going to show up every month for their dyeing of the hair. And there's probably a limited number. Anyway, I just want you to know, I really want you to think about when you're looking at companies, what do they do? All right. And the next thing I want to say here to kind of cap this all off is I have a challenge for you. Then I'll clean up the thing about the zebra code. I want you to think about this. Skill building is hard. I told you it's hard. I told you it's confusing. I told you you're going to have attention span. You're going to have life interruption issues, right? You're going to have I don't know how to do it issues. And you're going to have issues related to I'm not sure what to do first, what to do second, what to do third, or how they're going to pay off. All right. I've packaged that for you. Some of it's free and some of it's paid, but any which way, and whatever you do, I want you to think about this. I wrote it down because I really want to drive this home. My challenge is, are you going to make time? Because the skills that you need that are going to pay you a lot of money, you're not going to develop between 9 and 5. You won't. You're going to need to work harder. And then will you put in the work? So are you going to make the time, A, and B, will you put in the work? All right. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're here with me live and you did, make sure to click the like button. Or if you're watching this on the recording, make sure to click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the station. If you are here with me live, we're going to go to the chat, do some Q&A. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.